Hello, hello. Welcome to yet again another filmmaker interview. I'm your host, Sophia Lucia Parola, and we are in our 23rd year at Garden State Film Festival. You can check out 200 films, maybe more, from various different places, various types of films, March 27th through March 30th in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and Cranford, New Jersey. You can get the full lineup at gsff.org, as well as any tickets. And one of the films you can check out is a feature mockumentary called Counting In. Here to talk with me about it are some of the people involved. I'll have them introduce themselves, and we will start off with the director.
Hi, I'm Griffin. I'm the writer, director, and producer of Counting In. I'm throwing it over to Ben Kursrock, one of the stars.
Yes, I co-wrote the movie with Griffin and Mike, and I'm in it, and we all produced it together, and we've been making films together for almost 7 years.
Ooh.
I am Mike. I am the editor and co-writer along with Griffin and Ben. And Ben, who do you play in Counting In?
Oh, I play Lazy Gravy.
Just wanted to get that name in there.
Lovely. Congratulations, all. And thank you for making Counting In. I haven't had a chance to watch it fully yet, but I did breeze through a little bit just to have a little preparation, and I'm so excited to see it. It is funny, it is unique, it's witty, it's very, I've never seen anything like it. And let me have one of you as the writers, or Griffin, if you want to go ahead as the director, explain what Counting In's about, because that's my favorite part. Like, where'd you even come up with this? So talk to us about the film, what
So,
our audience is going to watch.
Counting In is basically the story of the world's greatest guy at counting to four before rock songs. So, any like famous rock song you've ever heard, whether it be We Will Rock You or Billy Joel or the Grateful Dead, Steve Staccato, our mysterious counter inner, probably went one, two, three, four before the song, and then he didn't do anything else. But he counted in the absolute best. And that uh, he was never recognized for it. And our documentary explores the life and current whereabouts of Steve Staccato because he's missing and we don't know where he is.
Love it. What a pitch. Oh my gosh. So unique. I think it's so funny. My first question is like, what was the inspiration? You all three wrote this. So like, who came up with this idea? How did this come about? And how was the writing process like?
So the idea came to me when I was like working. I work on a sound stage, kind of like stage operations and stuff like that. And we listen to the radio all the time. And I listened to a lot of Bruce Springsteen. And then I were in the Garden State Film Festival. So, what a better inspiration than the boss. But Bruce counts into like almost every song and he does it so emphatically. He really, really counts every time. And I just like mentioned to my buddy who's on the stage with me, like, what if somebody like just did that? And that turned into like a 10-page sketch script that I presented to Ben and Mike and everybody else in our comedy collective, probably a cult. Um, and we were just going to shoot this as a funny sketch. And when we finally shot our first interviews, I turned it over to Mike to edit it, and he gave me back like a 30-minute long cut. And it didn't really feel long, it felt short. And we're like, oh, this thing has legs. Like, let's go for it. And 3 years later, we've got a movie.
Wow. That is awesome. So you guys really had intentions to make it a short first, and then it was in the editing process that you were like, wait, there's more. That's so cool.
It was always going to be a short.
Yeah,
wow.
That's generally our instinct. Is we make a lot of sketches and short films and stuff, and even this movie in a lot of ways is a sketch structured movie at its core, but then it gets so much deeper into these characters and their kind of emotional arcs that it formed organically into a feature.
So talk to me about it forming organically. Like obviously you guys you've worked together before. You said you've been making films for 7 years. I'm not sure if you said that in the interview or before, but so you guys are familiar with this collaboration. What is this writing process like? You share a Google Doc, or is it like, especially because this was first a short and then you guys made it a feature, was there a script? Was it mostly improv? Like what's it like all co-writing counting in?
It's really an interesting question, and I'd say the three of us as the co-writers of the film are all like in kind of opposing forces in a certain way. So Ben I'd say is our idea guy. Ben's the one who's gonna throw all of the crazy ideas out there. Um, he's the one who came up with the idea to have a children's show inside the movie, and all this sort of stuff. I'm like kind of your organizer. I'm like, okay, so like we have all of these ideas. Let's organize them into a timeline. And the timeline was really the central structure for this movie because the only scripts that exist are maybe 10 and 5 pages long, and they're knocking out very specific scenes, but 90% of the movie is improvised, which is where
Mm,
Mike comes in as the ultimate structurer and narrative creator of the movie, as the editor, because he is left with all of our junk and all of our crazy stuff that we came up with on set and has to mold it not only into something cohesive, but into something beautiful and moving. So, like, I think between the three of us, we like end up having this really nice synchronistic workflow.
mm. Yeah, it seems like every box is checked there. Mike, I had a big question for you because watching this, it was just like, oh my God, it's like I'm watching a documentary, but it's like funny. And is it real? And is it not real? And was that improvised or was that a script? Like, is there a timeline? Or I've interviewed a lot of documentary editors or documentary filmmakers, but one of the things about editing a documentary I hear a lot is like there's just hours and hours of interviews, and then there's a bunch of footage, and it's just like 32 terabytes of or 64 terabytes on and then you have to edit that. That is insane. Was that the case for this or no? Because it's a mockumentary and you guys kind of. So what was editing like?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the beautiful slash interesting part about this process was because it's a narrative, but an improvised narrative, it was very similar to the process of editing a documentary because you have to just watch all of the footage, determine what is going to hit the cutting room floor, what you're going to keep, and then you build the narrative off of that footage. So there wasn't a script to go off of scene by scene. I had to kind of
Mm,
whittle down, like boil down this footage into something into individual scenes and then decide where those scenes fit in the larger structure of the film. So it was a very enjoyable process because in documentary, you're kind of beholden to the footage that exists. But in a narrative like this, we had the ability to go out and shoot more stuff that we didn't have. So
mm.
that was
Yeah,
what really like lit me up creatively. It was like super fun in that respect.
yeah, and I'd say like one of the things that, because this was a weekend project, and principal photography was done over the course of a year. So really, every time we shot, Mike and I would go back to the editing room and get the scenes in, and then it would kind of just be like, what do we need next? How are we
Wow.
going to fill this out? And it kind of gave the movie this chance to grow organically. And we always had our central timeline that we started with of these events that happened in this counter-enter's life, um, to kind of build around. But like when it came to, okay, well, do we want to add something here? Do we want to like kind of stretch this part out? It's like, well, now we get to write and plan another shoot to like make this part of the movie better. So I think that gave us a chance, like, and I did have to set a hard deadline of like, we're gonna do principal photography for a year, or else this could go on forever.
Mm,
And I'm like, there has to be an ending point and deadlines in order to make this thing work. But I do think that giving ourselves the space to write, continue to write over the course of production, made it a really fun and creative process.
That is so interesting. I don't know if I've ever heard of a process like that. And it's so cool that Mikey said like it was really fun and freeing because that could give a lot of people a headache, you know, like not knowing where it's going to go and editing something and then like let's go back out. And especially you say over the course of a year on the weekends, right? And you guys have worked together before. But what about the rest of the cast and crew? Like how is I know scheduling is a headache sometimes producing with films. So what's this like? Like what was it like getting all this cast and crew to be involved throughout that year kind of with not much structure, or maybe there was a lot of structure. Like, what was that like keeping the cast and crew together for a whole
Well,
year?
it's funny because like our actor that played Steve Staccato, Lewis Reyes, is a producer that works with Griffin, and the original idea to use him was because he had all this footage from his band in the 80s that he was in, and that he had no we had no intention of actually using him even in the movie. It was going to be this short film where we used this archival footage of his old band, and then when he was in the movie, he wasn't going to have any dialogue. And then as the movie kept evolving, his role in it as Steve Staccato obviously grew to this, to be the main character, and that story is sort of the case for a lot of people, I think, in that we got in this movie to do one little thing that grew into this much bigger thing. And we would be like, hey, remember that interview you shot 6 months ago? We're actually expanding on that. So we need you back for this shoot because the short film that you did is actually now a feature. Like there were some people we didn't even update on that because we were so locked into the process of making this movie. And
Yeah, and I'd say in terms of like organization and like scheduling and things like that, like really my MO was always to plant a flag. It was just like, all right, like we need this scene. I'm gonna like set a date that works for me. And then we would have that date and then we'd reach out to everybody we would need and then just adjust until we made it work. But it was really just this kind of like all gas, like, okay, like we're gonna make it work. Oh, this comes up, we'll compromise, we'll compromise, we'll compromise, and then eventually like we get our scene that we needed. And that's also kind of like I'd say the adaptability of the production is also like part of the creativity, and that's how we got such like a funny, quirky movie is just coming up with these weird solves to get these scenes done.
That is so interesting. I love that. And it's funny that you said like 90% of the film itself is improv because I definitely was wondering there's this one scene that I did check out when the squirrels, oh my God, I would crack up. That was so good. And speaking about this, like it just seems like a lot of your process, not just the film itself and what we see is improv, but like a lot of the making of the film kind of sounds like improv too. So that's really cool. Since this was such a big process, a lot of it was improv. I didn't even see the full thing, so I'm sure I'll have a lot of other favorites. But what are some things you guys remember, like some favorite moments, or what was the best part of making this what it sounds kind of crazy. Sounds kind of crazy. Very creative film counting in.
Well, the one thing that comes to mind, I wasn't even there for this shoot, but for the Tempo Boulevard scene, we had to hire children actors, and in one of the moments in that like children's show, the kids are seen behind the stage drinking out of Mickey's beer bottles or malt
40-ounce malt liquor bottles.
Yeah, exactly. And Griffin, you can take it from here on like what actually transpired to get them to do that.
Oh, it was so hard. Thanks, Ben, for not only coming up with the funniest scene in the movie, but also making me get children to drink out of liquor bottles.
Well, well, a great testament too to like the weird writing process of this movie. That was just a little bit that we added interviews, and then people, when we interviewed them in the improv, they expanded on the story. We sort of wrote it with them in that moment, and then we however, I think it was a whole year later that we shot the actual Temple Boulevard scene.
Right,
it was a script and then an outline, and then when we were actually there, we had these 4 kids. We had the person playing the director actually, in some regards, directing in the moment, as we held, we kept shooting for, we kept rolling for 2 hours. So we got 2 hours of structured improv with those kids and with our actors. So we got genuine reactions from the kids. And that it was absolutely the most fun day I think we've had shooting, this entire.
And
Yeah,
one,
it was
go ahead.
absolutely crazy though, because like so we just had these four kids that their parents were gracious enough to like let them be on set that day. Most of the kids were like children of the production, like that, like, oh, this actor's daughter, um this actor's niece, things like that. So they all had like this like kind of close relation, which so they were comfortable, which was great. And that made it a lot easier to be like, okay, and so now we're gonna have them drink out of this like Mickey's 40-ounce bottle. And we poured it
Apple
out, and
juice.
I was gonna say we poured it out,
Clear.
and we cleaned it a lot, and then we filled it up with apple juice. But I mean, we've all, maybe not we've all, but I certainly have drinking a Mickey's or two in my day, and that smell is hard to get out. So we cracked open the bottle to have little Jack's drink out of, and the first thing he says is, "This doesn't smell like apple juice." And we had to run over to the parents and be like, "We swear to God, it's apple juice. Like, it is apple juice. We would not do that."
But the parents had a pretty incredible attitude about this whole thing, because I was in the other room with them watching the feed of the kids being told to drink this apple juice out of the bottle, and we warned them beforehand. They weren't going in not knowing their kid would be doing that.
Ironically enough, this was like the most ambitious scene of the entire movie, and when I wasn't there that day, but when I got the footage, I was ecstatic, and it was like the scene that probably went the best out of any scene that we shot throughout the course of the principal photography. So it was just one of those weird things where like the ambition was very high, but the execution was also, it met the ambition. So it was like really fun to look through that footage, having no idea what transpired that day.
Yeah. That's awesome. And like, what editor will be excited to receive a 2-hour scene and edit that? That's
I was
awesome.
used to it. I was used to it with this project.
I love that, guys. We're like over time, but I could talk to you guys all day. I didn't even ask half the questions. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I can't wait for audiences to see Counting In. Let me tell everyone how they can see it. Go to gsff.org for your tickets and check it out. Jersey Shore Art Center, Sunday, March 30th. The film block is 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. Come check it out. Will you guys be at the film festival this year?
We're all going to be there.
Hope to see you there.
Perfect. Lovely. I can't wait to meet you guys in person. Can't wait for audiences to see Counting In. Congratulations again, and thank you for talking to us a little bit about the film. I'll see you guys at the film festival, all right?
See you there.
Thanks.
Rock and
Bye.
roll.